CJ Gardner Johnson, Houston Texans safety, who they acquired this offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles, 6 interceptions last season for the Super Bowl champions, was asked about what it takes to be a Super Bowl contender, given that he has been on some of those over the last couple of years. Here is what he had to say.
Let's talk about the contending teams. They all have one thing in common. They're hungry. They're ready to continue to work. And I don't want to lay our bed or say anything to put anything out there, but this is a Super Bowl team right here. Super Bowl caliber team. You guys just go out there and show it week in, week out, and start from practice, start from meetings. Everybody's a Super Bowl contending team because we all high caliber players in the field. So we go out there and compete. We got to understand who's next to us, who's across the ball, and we got to understand that this is a job for us. We got to get it done.
He doesn't want to make it into a big thing. I'm going to make it into a big thing for this reason. This defense, if healthy all season long, is Super Bowl caliber. I feel that after 2 days. It's not just the pass rush that has both Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, arguably the best pass rush tandem in the league. And it's not just a secondary that at corner arguably has the best 1-2 combo in the league between Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. At safety, has a guy in CJ Gardner Johnson who's always in the right spot. I think he's an upgrade on Jimmy Ward, regardless of Jimmy Ward's status going forward. And they have a guy in Kalen Bullock who I am probably more excited about than anyone on the Texans going into this year. I've always liked him because of the size and the range. He made a play today at training camp practice on a deep throw to Nico Collins, and it was stupendous. Wasn't the best throw by Stroud. He was under pressure. We'll get to that in a moment. It was a hell of a play. I'm really excited about Bullock. So they've got 2 great pass rushers. They have a loaded secondary that now has Jalen Petrie back, who's out there leveling dudes. A guy who was definitely missed the last couple of games of the year. And then you have a linebacker core that probably not the strongest area on the team, but should be better just because of what's in front of them and what's behind them. This defense is that good. The defense can get them there. The real question is going to be about how much the offense brings to the table. But I was feeling pretty good about this defense going in. They are making life so difficult for the Texans offense right now, which obviously has its own questions that we will talk about in a moment. And I don't think it's entirely because of the Texans' offensive struggles. It's not entirely. Certainly a big part of it, the offensive line, which we'll get to in a moment. But the biggest positive, this is a Super Bowl caliber defense. I do not think it is a stretch from CJ Gardner Johnson to look at that unit and say this is a Super Bowl caliber team, because the team that he's on, the team that he's been with on practice, and the teams that he's been on before, they are beating the bleep out of people. CJ Gardner Johnson earlier today had a hit on Brevin Jordan, who is probably the Texans' biggest and strongest and fastest tight end. Took his ass out. Jalen Petrie put Nico Collins on his ass. Like, these are 2 big guys that are just getting leveled by various parts of the Texans defense. And it's full pads, but it's not really full contact. You would not guess that based off of the way the Texans defense is hitting out there.
I don't think Petrie does full pads and not full contact. I think Petrie, it's always full contact with him. And to me, it's more, I'm not out there, so I'm just seeing what you guys are saying, but it's the on paper, this defense, we could have told you this offseason that they have a lot of talent. To me, with this defense and really what D'Amico Ryans has done in his first 2 years as the head coach, it's like the attitude that these guys have. Right. And it seems like the temperature has just gotten turned up every single year of, we make light of it sometimes, but the swarm mentality, it's not a joke.
It's not. They all buy in.
Call it what you want, but these guys are menaces back there.
And think about it from this perspective too. They have so many guys in the defensive backfield that are competing with one another. And you talk about iron sharpening iron. Lots of guys are making plays today. I hadn't even heard of half of them. Who's Jalen Reed? I don't know. He had a pick 6. Who is Russ Yeast? Had a nice deflected pass.
Wow.
Tremont Smith, I've heard of him. He had an interception. MJ Stewart, might remember him.
Yeah, backup safety.
Pick 6. Jalen Smith, the corner from USC that the Texans drafted, and everyone was like, what the hell?
Yeah, a little bit of a reach at the time.
He had a really nice deflected pass as well. Everyone in this backfield was making plays. And I mean, this wasn't even a day where you saw much of Derek Stingley or where you saw much of Kamari Lassiter. I'm excited about Bullock, but I told you about CJ Gardner Johnson wrecking a guy. I told you about Jalen Peachy wrecking a guy. There's a mentality the Texans have brought in. And obviously, we talk about Swarm, special work ethic and relentless mindset, their mantra, and how that is a thing, even if it is a little bit corny. But there's a new one that has been brought to the table that CJ Gardner Johnson was asked about. It's called BTA.
The belt celebration has traveled from Philly to Houston.
Say it again?
The belt celebration.
BJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is and what that mentality is?
That's self-explanatory.
What is the belt philosophy?
In the PG terms, out competing, out hustling, and doing your job better than your opponent.
I love how we turned it into essentially special work ethic and relentless mindset, but he means belt the ass.
Yes.
And he was smirking when Landry Locker was asking him about that there.
Yeah, he was playing it very coy.
Very funny. Very funny moment right there. And I'm pretty excited about what this defense brings to the table. I do think it is Super Bowl caliber, assuming health. They're going to need to have health at that nickel spot so that come playoff time, if they're matched up against teams with good tight ends, that they can stick with a Travis Kelce. Because that was not 100% Travis Kelce that kicked the Texans' ass in the divisional round.
No, that was kind of
right.
Not completely washed up, but like a
definitely like 85% of what he used to be.
I was gonna say a B level Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
It was definitely not like he'd made what 3 or 4 big plays,
Yes.
but for the most part he wasn't out there wrecking you. And yeah, that's where that I don't know who had the assignment on it. I forgot. It's been 7 months, but the guy should have been Petrie.
Yes.
If they're fully healthy, it's Petrie out there where you feel a little bit better, at least with the physically capable of sticking with Kelce in that spot. And whether it's Kelce or one of the Ravens guys, I know Likely
Isaiah Likely has the foot injury, so he might miss the first couple of games of the year. We'll
but
talk about that in the 10-minute drill.
Likely the Buffalo guys, Kincaid and the Ole Miss, the guy who went to Ole Miss, Dawson
Knox.
Yes. The top of the AFC, they all have a guy you have to worry about at that tight end spot. That's where those safeties, those nickelbacks, that's when they come into play. And as long as Petrie's out there with what he showed last year and what it looks like, hearing what
he's a killer in the nickel spot. He's undersized, but one of the hardest hitters for his size.
If this defense stays even mostly how just have a normal amount of NFL season attrition by the time they get to the playoffs, I think they're going to be one of the best defenses in the playoffs.
Right.
This is going to be a team that relies on defense.
Even the defensive tackle position. Sheldon Rankins is in there. He's looking good. He's in probably the best shape of his life. Had a very rough year last year. He's dealing with meningitis and something else. But also Tim Settle in there. Settle maybe opens his mouth a little bit too much. He's an amusing quote, but this is a really good defense. And assuming health, and you can never guarantee it, but on paper, it's one of the best in the league.
And you mentioned Tim Settle. CJ Gardner Johnson also is going to be a
for sure
Hall of Famer at the mic.
At the microphone,
exactly. He's going to be. I cannot wait.
And I think Kamari Lassiter is. I think Derek Stingley's a little more comfortable at the microphone, which is a little bit interesting to hear.
That is interesting.
I always like to hear from Will Anderson, so it's going to be a chirpy team. Now to the bad.
Yeah.
Now to the negative.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun though, talking about the defense.
I lost count of the amount of times CJ Stroud got sacked. I lost count. It was a lot. It was all Texas quarterbacks. It was even Davis Mills. Mills is doing his best to get the ball out. Mills actually doesn't look bad out there, but they have no time. None. And it's the same offensive line that it was yesterday, the first unit. Cam Robinson's left tackle. Laken Tomlinson left guard. Jake Andrews is center. Titus Howard is at right guard. And Ariante Ursary, the rookie, is at right tackle. Drew Scruggs is working with the second unit for what it's worth. Not the third unit, so at the very least, that's going on. But you got 2 second-round picks that are on the bench, and then you got this first unit. And again, this Texas defense is great, but my God, this was a very one-sided practice. They're struggling to run the football as well, unless you like it when Nick Chubb, after he gets stopped, runs for another 10, 20 yards afterwards. He did not look particularly fast today relative to the practice I went to yesterday. So everything you've been hearing from Cody Stutes and some of the other guys about Nick Chubb, it's true based off of what I've seen in 2 practices. This offense has its work cut out for it. It's a new offense with Nick Caley running the show, with a new offensive line, with a new offensive line coach in Cole Popovich. And while there are certainly some reasons for optimism relative to last year, you got to look at this unit as a work in progress. And they were getting pissed at the end of the practice. There was a little bit of a scrum where, let me see what number. Austin Deculus was getting into it. He's a backup tackle with some Texans defender. I don't know what led to it because there were some people in the way of it, but the Texans defense were laughing and having themselves like a blast. CJ Gardner Johnson even came off the sideline for a moment and was very close to joining in. And then he came back toward the sidelines, pointing to the camera saying, belt to ass, belt to ass. There was another guy. What number was he? This is one of the guys that the Texans signed fairly recently. And he was off on the side. He was the only guy wearing a red jersey because now the quarterbacks are wearing light blue jerseys.
There's someone who got activated and he's a non-contact. I think he's competing for the backup nickel spot.
Yes.
I forgot his name.
I forget his name as well. I think he was wearing 22, and I think my new roster doesn't have him. But he was pretending like he was about to run on the field. He's like, no, I got the red jersey on. The defense did not take the offense seriously today. They didn't. And that's either because the defense is that good or the offense has that much work to do. I'm hoping it's not the latter, but I really do believe in this defense. I do also think that this offense, it's got a long way to go by the start of the regular season. They are going to struggle at this moment in time to do anything. It's not the fault of Jaden Higgins. Higgins had another nice catch today. It's not the fault. Dalton Schultz had a nice one-handed catch over the middle, but Stroud would have been sacked before the throw was made. Like, Stroud doesn't have a lot of time. So that's definitely a concern going into the year. I saw somebody out there say that you should be concerned with the lack of work Stroud's getting. I'm not. I'm more concerned with the lack of times that Stroud has been able to throw the football because of the offensive line that's in front of him.
It was, by the way, the player's Arthur Mollett.
Arthur Mollett. Thank you very much. One last one. Kaimi Fairbairn. Automatic. Hit everything. So you like that? Obviously, he had some moments in the playoffs last year.
I was very nervous when when a observation from training camp starts with the kicker's name and then a pause. I'm like, oh no, it's one extreme or the other.
He hit every kick he fired, Sean, including one off the crossbar, but on the inside of the crossbar.
Okay, so banked it in.
Yeah, it was nice little sound.
Okay,
yeah, it's nice.
That was good.
So there you go, guys. This defense is Super Bowl caliber. But even D'Amico Ryans acknowledged that the defense had the upper hand on the offense. Here's the head coach of the Houston Texans after today's practice.
Like, all of it is evaluated. So it's not like one side has a good day and it's we're not good. That's not the case. It's always our offense made a lot of plays, a lot of explosive plays yesterday. And usually in camp, that's how it goes. One side gets the best of one side the other day. The other side comes out and do what. So it's not anything for me to pull out the panic meter about. It's just camp. Guys are competing, and I love that we have a very competitive team. And that's what stood out the most to me about our team throughout this camp, just how competitive these guys are and how both sides continue to show up and make plays.
He is Sean Mapes behind the glass. I am Paul Gallant. That is your Houston Texans training camp hot takes from Wednesday, July 30th. 2025.